in the heart of a quaint village nestled amid the lush green fields of Punjab, where the air carried the scent of fresh earth and blooming mustard flowers, lived the extended family of Chaudhry Sahib. The village, known as Dani Chuk, was a tapestry of mud brick homes, narrow dirt lanes, and the constant hum of rural life, cows lowing in the distance, children chasing hoops made from old bicycle tires, and women drawing water from the communal well under the shade of ancient banyan trees. It was a place where traditions ran deep, and the joint family system was not just a way of life, but a sacred bond that wove generations together. Chaudhry Sahib's household was a prime example of this enduring custom, housing his elderly parents, his wife Ami Ji, his two brothers and their families, and now, the newest addition, his son Arjun's bride Meera. Meera had arrived in Dani Chuk with a heart full of dreams and a trunk of modest belongings, her bridal lehenga still echoing the vibrant reds and golds of her wedding day. Coming from a smaller family in a neighboring village, she had heard tales of the grandeur and challenges of living in a Susral, the in-laws' home, but nothing prepared her for the reality of sharing a single, modest room with her husband in a sprawling joint setup. The house itself was a rambling structure, built over decades with additions tacked on as the family grew. There were courtyards for cooking and gossiping, a shared kitchen where the aroma of parathas and dal mingled with the smoke from the chulha, and verandas where the men smoked hookahs after a day in the fields. But privacy? That was a luxury reserved for the birds nesting in the eaves. The only one-room problem, as the villagers whispered with knowing smiles, was the crux of many a young couple's adjustment in such homes. From the moment Meera stepped across the threshold, adorned with marigold garlands and blessed by the elders, she felt the weight of eyes upon her. Ami Ji, the matriarch, Chaudhry Sahib's wife and Meera's SAS, stood tall with a stern yet kind face etched by years of hard work. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her dupatta draped elegantly over her shoulders. "Welcome, baby," Ami Ji had said, her voice warm, but laced with the authority of someone who had ruled this household for 30 years. Meera bowed respectfully, touching her feet, and whispered, "G, SASG." The term, SAS, rolled off her tongue with a mix of reverence and nervousness, for in village lore, the SAS-Bahu relationship was the stuff of legends, sometimes harmonious symphonies, other times clashing cymbals. The room assigned to Arjun and Meera was tucked away at the back of the house, a simple space with whitewashed walls, a charpoy bed draped in a colorful quilt, and a small wooden almirah for their clothes. A single window overlooked the fields, letting in the golden hues of sunrise and the cool breeze of evenings. It was cozy, intimate even, but in a joint family, walls had ears, and doors were mere suggestions. The sounds of the household permeated every corner, the clatter of utensils from the kitchen at dawn, the laughter of children playing in the courtyard, the murmured prayers of the grandparents in the adjacent room, and the occasional heated discussions among the uncles about crop yields or water disputes. Privacy was a fleeting visitor, often chased away by well-meaning relatives popping in for a chat or to borrow a pinch of spice. Meera's first days were a whirlwind of adaptation. She rose before the sun, as was expected of a new Bahu, to help in the kitchen. Ami Ji was already there, kneading dough with expert hands, her bangles jingling softly. "Come, Meera, learn how we make the perfect rotis here," she instructed, her tone firm but not unkind. Meera nodded eagerly, her city-bought salwar kameez feeling out of place amid the flour-dusted floor. She had always been a quick learner, having helped her mother back home, but the scale here was different. Feeding a family of 15 required precision and stamina. As she rolled out the dough, Ami Ji shared stories of her own early days as a Bahu, how she had navigated the joint system with grace, turning potential rivalries into alliances. "In this house, we are one body," Ami Ji said, flipping a roti on the tawa. If one finger hurts, the whole hand feels it. Arjun, Mira's husband, was a gentle soul, a farmer by day and a dreamer by night. He worked the fields with his father and uncles, his sun-kissed skin and calloused hands a testament to his dedication. In their one room, after the household quieted, he would whisper promises to Mira about building a separate home one day, where they could have space to breathe. "But for now, my John, we make do," he'd say, holding her close on the charpoy. Mira loved him deeply, their marriage arranged but blossoming into genuine affection. Yet, the lack of privacy gnawed at her. Simple moments, like changing clothes or sharing a quiet conversation, were interrupted by knocks, sometimes from the children wanting to play, other times from Ammi G with a cup of evening chai. How do people manage? Mira wondered silently, her cheeks flushing at the thought. One evening, as the family gathered in the courtyard for dinner under the starlit sky, the only one-room problem reared its head in a subtle way. The meal was a feast of sorts. Fresh sabzi from the garden, yogurt from their own cows, and pickles that Ammi G had fermented herself. The men sat on one side, the women on the other, with children darting between. Conversation flowed like the nearby canal, touching on village news, the upcoming harvest festival, and light-hearted teasing. Uncle Tao, the eldest brother, joked about Arjun and Mira's room being the love nest, eliciting laughter from all except Mira, who smiled politely but felt a pang of discomfort. Ammi G noticed her Bahu's unease and later, in the kitchen while washing dishes, pulled her aside. "Baby, I know it's not easy. When I came here, we had even less space. But remember, this closeness builds strength. It teaches patience and love." Mira appreciated the words, but challenges mounted. The joint system meant shared responsibilities and shared conflicts. One morning, while preparing breakfast, Mira accidentally oversalted the dal. The family ate without complaint, but later, Chachi Ji, the wife of the younger uncle, whispered criticisms in the courtyard. "New Bahus these days don't know the basics," she muttered, loud enough for Mira to hear. Hurt but determined, Mira sought Ammi G's guidance. "SASG, teach me your ways," she pleaded. Ammi G, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, smiled and spent the afternoon showing her the art of spice balancing, the secrets of pickling mangoes, and the rhythm of churning butter. It was in these moments that the SAS Bahu bond began to form, like threads weaving a sturdy fabric. Village life added its own flavor to the narrative. Donichuk pulsed with the cycles of nature. The sowing season brought back-breaking work, the monsoons turned paths to mud, and festivals lit up the nights with diyas and folk songs. Mira, initially homesick, found solace in the routines. She joined the women at the well, where gossip flowed as freely as the water. Tales of neighboring families, matchmaking prospects, and remedies for ailments were exchanged amid laughter. "In the city, they have apartments with many rooms," one auntie said, "but no soul. Here we have heart." Mira nodded, slowly embracing the #villager lifestyle, with its simplicity and community spirit. Yet, the one-room constraint tested their marriage. Arjun and Mira's intimate moments were hushed, their arguments whispered to avoid prying ears. One night, after a long day, Arjun returned late from the fields, muddy and exhausted. Mira had waited, her patience fraying. "Why didn't you tell me you'd be late?" she hissed in the dim light of the lantern. Arjun sighed. "The tractor broke down. What could I do?" Their voices rose slightly, and soon, a soft knock came. Grandpa G, concerned. "Everything all right, Beta?" The interruption diffused the tension, but it highlighted the issue. The next day, Mira confided in Ammi G during their afternoon tea. "SASG, how did you and Abu G manage with so little space?" Ammi G chuckled, her eyes twinkling. We learned to communicate with eyes and gestures. And sometimes we'd sneak to the fields for a walk. Privacy is what you make of it, baby. Inspired, Mira suggested to Arjun an evening stroll in the fields. Under the moonlight, amid the rustling wheat, they talked freely, rekindling their connection. It became their ritual, a stolen slice of solitude in the joint chaos. Back home, Mira threw herself into family life, helping with the children's homework, tending the vegetable patch, and even learning to milk the cows, a task that initially left her with sore hands but eventual pride. Amiji watched her growth with approval, often defending her against minor family squabbles. "My Bahu is gold," she'd say, shutting down Chachiji's barbs. As months turned to seasons, the family faced a crisis that tested their unity. The monsoon rains came heavy that year, flooding the fields and damaging the house's roof. Water dripped into every room, including Arjun and Mira's, turning their sanctuary into a soggy mess. The joint system shown here. The uncles worked together to repair the roof, the women cooked communal meals in the undamaged kitchen, and the children helped by fetching materials. Mira, sleeves rolled up, climbed ladders to pass tiles, earning nods of respect. Amiji, overseeing it all, pulled Mira close one rainy afternoon. "See, baby? This is why we stay together. Alone, we drown. Together, we float." The repairs brought innovation. Chaudhry Sahib, seeing the strain on the young couple, proposed adding a small extension, a veranda attached to their room for extra space. It wasn't much, but it symbolized progress. Mira and Arjun decorated it with potted plants and a swing, turning it into their private nook. The "only one-room problem" eased slightly, allowing breaths of fresh air. Through it all, the SAS-Bahu relationship evolved into a deep friendship. Amiji shared recipes passed down from her mother, while Mira introduced modern twists, like adding herbs from the market to traditional dishes. They laughed over shared stories, cried during emotional festivals, and supported each other through village dramas. When Mira discovered she was expecting, Amiji was the first to know, her eyes filling with tears of joy. "My grandchild will grow in this loving home," she said, hugging her Bahu. Years later, as the family expanded further, Mira looked back on her journey with gratitude. The joint system, with its challenges like the one-room dilemma, had forged unbreakable bonds. In Dani Chuk, under the vast Punjab sky, life continued its rhythmic dance, #villager lifestyle at its finest, where SAS and Bahu weren't just relatives but pillars of strength. The village of Dani Chuk woke each day to the call of the muezzin from the distant mosque, a melodious reminder of faith and routine. For Mira, now a seasoned Bahu, these sounds were as familiar as her own heartbeat. But let's rewind to those early days when everything was new and overwhelming. After the wedding festivities faded, the reality of Susral life set in like the morning mist over the fields. The house was alive from dawn to dusk, a symphony of activity that left little room for solitude. Mira's room, though small, held treasures. On the wall hung a calendar with pictures of holy sites, a gift from her natal home. The almirah contained her saris folded neatly, interspersed with Arjun's kurtas. A small mirror on the door reflected her adjusting dupatta each morning before stepping out to face the family. The floor was cool clay, swept daily with a broom made from date palm leaves. It was here that Mira and Arjun shared their first real conversations as husband and wife, learning each other's quirks, his love for folk tales, her passion for embroidery. But the joint family dynamics often intruded. The grandparents' room adjoined theirs, and Grandpa G's coughs echoed through the thin partition at night. The uncles' families occupied the front rooms, their children treating the entire house as a playground. One afternoon, as Mira was resting after chores, little nephew Ravi burst in. "Bobby, tell me a story." Mira smiled, pulling him onto the charpoy, and wove a tale of brave princes and clever animals. These moments, though uninvited, warmed her heart, reminding her that family was a web of connections. Amy G's role was pivotal. As SAS, she was the queen bee, directing the hive with wisdom accumulated over years. Her days started with prayers, then overseeing the kitchen. Mira admired her resilience, having borne 5 children, managed the household budget, and mediated disputes with neighbors. "SASG, how do you do it all?" Mira asked one day while grinding spices. Amy G replied, "With all his grace and a strong back, baby. And remember, a good Bahu is like rain to the fields, nourishing without flooding." Conflicts arose, as they do in close quarters. Chachi G, envious perhaps of Mira's youth and education, Mira had studied up to class 10, often nitpicked. "That curry is too spicy," she'd say, or, "The laundry isn't folded right." Mira bit her tongue, recalling her mother's advice. Win with kindness. Instead of retorting, she offered to help Chachi G with her tasks, slowly melting the ice. Village festivals brought respite. During Tej, the women fasted and swung on julas, singing songs of love and longing. Mira, dressed in green, joined the circle, her voice blending with Amy G's. The men prepared sweets, and for a night, the house buzzed with joy, the one-room issue forgotten in the celebration. As winter approached, the fields turned golden with ripe wheat. Harvest time was grueling. Everyone pitched in, from cutting stalks to threshing grain. Mira, unused to such labor, blistered her hands but persevered. Arjun praised her. "You're my Shirney." In their room that night, with the family asleep, they dreamed of the future, a bigger house, children of their own. The monsoon crisis, as mentioned, united them. Post-flood, the family rebuilt stronger. The new veranda became a haven, where Mira read books borrowed from the village school, and Arjun played his harmonium softly. Pregnancy brought new layers. Morning sickness in a shared space was tricky, but Amy G brewed herbal teas, sharing her own experiences. "I was sick with Arjun too," she confided. The bond deepened, SAS and Bahu becoming confidants. When baby Aisha arrived, the house erupted in joy. Amy G held her first, whispering blessings. Mira, exhausted but elated, saw her SAS in a new light, a grandmother's tenderness. As Aisha grew, the joint system proved its worth. Aunts babysat, uncles taught her to walk, grandparents told stories. The one room expanded metaphorically, filled with love. Mira, now a mother, mentored new Bahus in the village, sharing her story. "The Susral is not a problem, it's a blessing," she'd say. In Donnie Chuck, life flowed on, a testament to resilience, family, and the beautiful chaos of #SasBahu bonds and #villager lifestyle.